Look, I opened this jar of rotten baby food, and well, a butterfly came out.
Last month, I bombed so bad, I thought they're going to call Homeland Security.
Welcome to the Comedians and Elevators podcast. I've got my guest, Joel Brill. Joel, say hi, introduce yourself, and tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm Joel Brill. I live in parts of LA. I'm a stand-up comedian, and that's about it.
Well, parts of LA, there's not one part, there's like multiple parts?
No, I live in Porter Ranch, which is the northwest corner of Los Angeles.
Got it. Yeah, I thought maybe there's multiple, that's
Yeah.
yeah, definitely part of LA. Everything Southern California, you could say LA, and not
Exactly.
So are you ready to get started, Joel?
I'm ready to go.
Listen, to my regular listeners, I know you don't like when at the beginning of these conversations I ask you to subscribe. None of us like it. I don't like saying it. I don't like it being in here. But it's frustrating. You know what else is frustrating? It's also frustrating when I look in the back end of the YouTube channel and I see that 56% of you that watch frequently haven't yet subscribed. And I know this because I see it in the comments section. You say things like, I didn't know I didn't subscribe. And that's actually what fuels the show. Basically, it's like you're making a donation to the show. So that's why I ask all the time, because it enables us to build and build and build. And we're going for the long term here. Hit the subscribe button and we'll continue to build this show for you. That's my promise. Thank you to all you guys that do subscribe. It means the world to me. All right. So the whole point of the podcast is to compare and contrast the comic versus the comedian. So I define the comic as any person telling funny jokes versus the comedian who's a funny person telling any jokes. So Joel, would you agree that you start as a comic and devolve into a comedian?
Yeah, probably. I think anybody that's a comedian, most comedians would have started as a comic to get, just telling jokes and, even telling jokes in grade school or something. So you evolve.
All right. So you ready for the first question?
I am.
All right. So it's about the role of persona in comedy. So how much of the comedian's voice is a character versus their real self?
I think a lot of that depends on the specific individual. For me, my voice is me. I mean, I don't have a persona per se. It's just me, if that made sense.
Yeah, that's very specific. I mean, you can, there's no variation. So you don't do like, characters or voices impersonations?
No, I don't. I don't have any talent in that respect. I do, I will, like, I'll do a conversation where I'm talking to my mother. So I will, use my mother's voice, like, why did you do that? But, not, I don't do voices or impersonations.
I mean, but that is, right? So you're doing it. You're just not saying you're doing it. So you're still being
Okay.
Maybe that's the secret to your success, is that actually you're doing these things, but the blind spot is that you don't think you're doing those things.
Right? True. Good point.
So does authenticity matter, or is illusion part of the magic?
I think delusion is part of the magic. I mean, okay. I mean, if I'm I'm pretty much my authentic self. But on the other hand, not everything I say is authentically true. So, but it comes off as authentic. Like, nobody knows that, I'll say certain things about certain relatives and it's not quite true,
Right.
So,
but it sounds true.
But it sounds true. And people will ask, I do a joke about a friend with Parkinson's disease, and they all come up and ask me how he's doing and things. And, he died, but I'm still going like he's alive. So.
Oh, that's definitely, yeah. If they find out about that one, they're going, oh, what's going on here? Huh? In the future? So how about punching up versus punching down? So where do comics versus comedians stand on this? Let me put it in some historical context. Did a jealous medieval prince become the first comedian by killing the court jester?
Very possible. You may want to go back to a caveman was killed by a different caveman, but um, as far as punching up and punching down, I think a comic would be more likely to punch down, but a good comedian can punch down and be very funny. And I mean, you look at somebody like Ricky Gervais, he punches hard sometimes, but there's a punchline that, to me, and my answer is going to be quite often, as long as it's funny, you know, and not hurtful, but it can have a sting to it, but it's got to be funny.
Mm. So when you say, I mean, just to be objective, would you say that any amount of surprise would count?
As long as it's funny.
Okay. All right. So is the audience's agreement with the comedian a form of permission or alignment?
Um, Say it again.
Is the audience agreement with the comedian a form of permission or alignment?
It's alignment.
Okay.
It's yeah. I mean, people agree with me because they're aligning it, they're living it or feeling it.
Okay. So they're feeling it, but that's because you did your job, right?
Yes, yes.
So I guess if you didn't do your job, it would have been permission by default.
I guess by default.
Yeah. All right. So cultural translation of comedy. So how do jokes that work in one country bomb in another?
I mean, it's not even a country; it's different parts of this country, different parts of this country. You know, some jokes don't work. I mean, jokes in Central, Middle America work better than certain jokes like in Los Angeles or New York City. So, I mean, there's a whole cultural thing with sensitivity where you'll find it more in the major, LA, San Francisco, New York. And you have people that are, um, in the Midwest, for example, they like edgier comedy.
Do
Um,
I? Yeah. Who
no,
doesn't?
well, but in the Midwest, I find that people like edgier comedy or can handle it better. Los Angeles area, they don't like edgy comedy.
I have experienced that lately. Is I agree with you on that one. There's if you aren't, I don't know. The only edgy thing you could do is hate MAGA. That seems like the as far as you can go. If you would you agree?
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Speaking of edgy, there's breaking news contemporary is that Israel just recognized Somaliland as a country. So I don't know if that's how that's going to work out. If those jokes are going to bomb. But how does the silence when your joke doesn't land hurt? Physically, emotionally, morally, or spiritually?
Well, I've never had a joke bomb, so uh, you know, when you bomb, I mean, I a couple last month I bombed so bad I thought they're going to call Homeland Security. Um, it it's a physical, it's a most. I mean, for me, and I know a lot of other comics, when you have a really really bad night, thank God it's rare. It's like, why am I doing this? So I mean, it hurts. It hurts because this is your baby. This is your. If you're an actor, it's somebody else's material you're performing. When you're a comedian, this is your baby, and if
Right.
people don't like your baby, um, so for me, mentally too, like what did I not just mostly kind of train me, but mentally, what did I do wrong? Did I say something wrong? And then that all is physically, you're like, um, it takes a little while to recover, but most of us recover.
A recovering comedian. All right. So
There you go. But
yeah.
it's like sports. I mean, I played sports. We didn't win every game, so the next day you went out there and you try it again.
Yeah, probably the best way to learn. A little humility is just being in sports, right?
Right.
So are comics more universal while comedians are more culturally specific?
Yeah. Um, Probably. I would think, yeah, I think the telling jokes is more universal, um, broad based. I mean, if you're just telling jokes, yeah,
Hmm.
it would be more broad based.
All right. All right. So crowd work versus crafted work. So if comics riff like influencers in the comments section and comedians perform like in reaction videos, where's the sweet spot?
Um, I don't know about that. The sweet spot, again, it goes back to me. The sweet spot's the laughter. So where who's getting the most laughter? I'm not a big crowd work guy. Actually, I don't do crowd work. I admire a lot of crowd work comics. I mean, there's some really, really great ones. And I think a lot of them out there also aren't that great and they just are too lazy to come up with material
Yeah.
and try to riff at the expense of people in the audience.
Oh man. Uh, Would you say it's laziness or that's all they got?
Yes. it,
Right.
it,
So,
it, it's both.
uh, yeah. So would you say maybe the silence that hope you may employ is a type of crowd work?
The silence in a routine I'm
Yeah.
doing.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. You're waiting. Yeah, I mean, there's moments when you're using the silence, right? You're taking it extra long for effect. Would you consider that possibly crowd work, a kind of crowd work?
I never looked at it that way. I Yeah, I guess. Um,
I guess one example would be maybe at the beginning of a set, you haven't even said anything yet. I don't know if you've tried this. I'm assuming possibly, maybe not on purpose, but you haven't said anything yet with the microphone and you're just using that silence. Is that crowd work?
it is. I mean, I don't. I jump right in I get laughs in the first 15 or 20 seconds.
That's the
Um,
rule, of course, but sometimes you break
um,
the rules, right?
no question about it. And I break rules, but I don't. Not in the beginning. Uh, again, maybe it's just I'm old school, but you want them laughing.
Of
You
course.
don't want them angry. You don't want. If you want them angry, that's yeah. To me, you want them laughing.
So what happens when a comic leans too much into crowd work?
I I mean, again, if they're a great comic, I mean, if you look at Matt Rife or a guy like Jimmy Brogan, who that's all they. Jimmy Brogan doesn't have him. He just gets up on stage and starts talking to people in the audience. I have never seen him fail, and I think he's a brilliant comic. And so,
So
and
you
I
wouldn't call him a comedian?
no, he's a brilliant comedian. Sorry.
No, no, I'm asking, there's
No,
I've created this separation. Maybe it's not
yeah,
relevant.
no, he's a comedian. There are other co- people, comics that I see that work some pretty big stages, and they just are doing crowd work, and they're only on the big stage because they're on a TV show, and because they just are not funny, and but they draw a crowd, so it is show business. The clubs need to make money, so.
Do you see that often where you have people that are acting like a comic because they can draw a crowd?
In Los Angeles. Not often, but it's not
Right.
uncommon in Los Angeles because they're here. I mean, you got a guy who's got a big TV show and he's a supporting actor or, one of the lead actors. Um, they they they're on the marquee.
Right. Interesting. I haven't seen that too much, but here's a very important question. Advertising and self-promotion. Who advertises themselves more? The comic, the comedian, or the magician? You know that place where you're not conscious and you're not sleeping either? That's your power bill to the electric company. Right here. I want us to be here with free energy, where the Wardenclyffe Tower meets the Eiffel Tower. But that's not where we are. We are here, where you've got the utility and you've got residential solar. Between these two, we know which one saves you money. This is where we can go in the meantime. But this is where I want us to be now, and this can be done now. So let me deputize you to represent DOSE, Department of Solar Efficiency, and let's get on the podcast and get the message out today. See you soon.
Well, I haven't seen many advertisements for magicians, so I will say that the comedian in my world tends to promote better, but regardless, if you don't promote comic or comedian, you're a fool. You're missing out on opportunity. You're doing a disservice to the venue. It's called show business. And your business, part of your business, I'm not saying, you got to bring crowds in, but you got to do something to let people know you're here. And, I'm not saying bringer shows, but I would think a comedian probably has a little more respect for the venue and for their ability to draw a crowd.
All right. So then is self-promotion seen as selling out, or is it necessary for survival?
No, it's not selling out. The only people that think it's selling out are amateurs, and this is a profession. Comedy is a profession. Owning a comedy venue or running a comedy venue or supporting one, it's a business. And if you don't tend to business, you're not going to be on stage long. If you can't bring in people, besides being funny, people need to know you're out there.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a list of comics I want to go see, and mostly because their names are in front of me, whether it's on Facebook, Instagram, or whatever.
All right. So then, okay, so how about censorship and offense? So does a comic avoid offense while a comedian courts it to prove a point, like a magician?
I'm not sure where a magician fits in on this. What do you mean about a magician fitting in?
Proving a point, right? Isn't their whole goal is the magic trick has to, like a comedian, you got to have a punchline, but sometimes it's fuzzy. But a magician, you got to hit that act.
Right. So tell me the question again.
Does a comic avoid offense?
No, I don't think so. Well, some do and some don't, just like some comedians do and some don't. I don't do, I have some offensive material and I only use it in certain venues, and I'm not offending anyone in particular. I'll make fun of a group, whatever group, whatever. And it's like, I don't know, Anthony Jeselnik will just say something and you'll go, what? And then the turn is, and that's what mine is. I mean, I'll do bits about different groups but there's a punchline there, and it's startling. You're going, oh wait, he's talking about gay guys, and then it turns out it's funny, or I'm talking about somebody with a serious disease, and the people that don't have the disease are the ones that are like, oh no, like the
Right.
Parkinson's one. I 4 times, different times, I've had people come up to me after the show and go, I want to talk to you about that Parkinson's joke.
Hmm.
Thank you. I have it, you know, and everybody tiptoes around it. And my good friend who ended up dying with it, when we did a roast on his birthday years ago, he goes, use that joke. And the wives were all like, oh no, you can't use that joke. And Jeff's like, you got to tell it.
So I'm assuming the reason why is because you tell something that's true about Parkinson's that people without it don't know, but people with it know, and that's the reason why it's funny. Is that correct?
Um, no, I make fun of somebody with Parkinson's, and
Right. But
and
why would they want you to tell that joke? Like, what is it? Why are they?
because just like the jokes about me performing at a gay club, and I'm not gay, but that doesn't mean I can't perform at a gay club. And the gay when I do my gay bit, people go, "Oh, you can't say that," you know. But gay guys think it's funny. They go, "Yeah, it's great," you know. I work with a
Because it's true. Because the setup is true.
exactly
Yeah.
because it's true. And that's the
So
way
what?
it is. My joke about the Parkinson's and joke about certain people like family members. People, it's true. It's not nice, but it's true. So
Right. So who survives better in a cancel culture environment? The comic, the comedian, the magician, or the mudslinger?
well, in a cancel culture situation, and I happily say that is going away to some degree. It's not like it was 5 years ago, thank God. The magician's always going to win out on that. Um, yeah, and then the
Okay.
comedian, and then the comic, and the mudslingers at the bottom in that scenario.
All right. So laughter versus applause. So are comics chasing laughs and comedians chasing applause breaks or primetime Emmy that validate their message?
Uh,
I'll say Jesselnick as an example. Do you laugh at his jokes?
Hysterically, I think to me he's one of the funniest guys out there.
But you laugh out loud.
Out loud, I think he's really sharp, really funny, um, dark. But
Mhm.
I don't care. I mean, again, if you make me laugh, you know, I don't. I would say almost there are very few topics that are taboo, in my opinion, as long as it's funny and not really hurtful. Um, I mean, I've seen good comics do jokes about rape and it'd be funny, but it was a guy like, Ricky Gervais pulled it off or Anthony Jeselnik pulled it off and not condoning it and making fun of it. But at first, you're like, it's like I said, making fun of the friend with Parkinson's. It's like, what? But it's funny, but it's true.
Right. And so would you say the secret is actually the setup is the offensive part, not the punchline?
In Yeah, because if the punchline is offensive, I don't think it's that fun. The offensiveness or the shock is usually in the setup. The punchline's a shock, but it's not a negative shock. It's a surprise.
Right. Yeah. Possibly the part of the surprise is that actually it's a positive. It's you start negative and you end positive, and that's part of adding to this quality.
Right,
All right.
right.
So comedy is commentary. So when does a comedian cross into being a philosopher or a preacher?
Uh, when their ego gets in in my opinion, it's when their ego gets in the way. I think a lot of really good comics comedians um, start doing commentary. and and it's more just their opinion and anger. I think one of the biggest, I'll call it a violation of that, was one of what used to be one of the greatest comedians, who then went all philosophical and anger, and that was George Carlin. I mean, the latter George Carlin, I never thought was funny, and I thought he was one of the funniest guys that ever stood on a stage. And then he just got angry, not angry like Louis C.K., not Louis C.K., like Richard Lewis, who's an angry comic, but it works for him. Carlin just was angry and spewing hate or anger. And and political, when people get political and it's not funny, and it's just spewing anger. I don't want to hear that, and so you cross the line.
What about as a rant as part of the setup?
If it's done right, it's great. I mean,
So you should
yeah.
possibly not use anger, even if it's your character.
No,
in a
you
rant?
can't. No. If it's funny,
Right.
George Carlin stopped being funny. In
Well,
my
what
humble
happened?
opinion.
What
Just
changed?
he got angry and was just talking about his personal feelings and anger, and without adding the laughs.
So did his character change or did his jokes change?
Well, personally, I think he stopped telling jokes.
Okay.
So and his character, yeah, because he was a light-hearted
Yeah.
guy, and his stuff was, a lot of his stuff was serious but funny. And the last years, it was just him doing philosophy and personal feelings about things. And again, I don't care as long as you make me laugh. I don't go to a comedy show to hear somebody spewing anger. I go to hear them make me laugh. And if it's with anger, I'm on. I don't care. That's fine as long as it's a comedy show.
Right. So Joel, you ready to enter the multiverse?
Okay.
All right. So board game Zoomcast, play versus performance. If comedy were a board game Zoomcast, are you competing as the colorist, adding tone, mood, and shading, or the Foley artist, building punchlines with soundscapes and timing?
Me personally,
Yes.
I'd be the Foley artist. I am the
Okay.
Foley artist.
Ah. So does comedy work better when it's painted vividly or when it's orchestrated sonically?
For me, vividly.
Okay. So those are two different, they're in conflict. Would you say that the colorist is the vivid? It's an interesting dichotomy. I don't know if it's my words or maybe
Yeah,
you're envisioning something different.
I think I'm envisioning something different. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah.
Okay. All right. So here in the Comedians and Elevators podcast, we have a tradition where the previous guest asks a question for the next guest. And the previous guest was Adriana Hamby. And her question for you, Joel, is, are you currently truly satisfied with your existence? And if you died tomorrow, would you be completely satiated with your existence?
My existence as a person or as a comedian?
Well, I mean, are they separate?
Yes. In
Okay.
my case, I mean, I'm more than a comedian, and
Oh, you're
I've
more
got
than a comedian.
I've
Okay.
got 73 years of existence and
Okay.
history that make up this guy.
Of
Um,
course.
I do a lot of things that aren't comedy related, or I have over the years. And so um, if it's me as a person, if life came to a close, yeah, I've lived a pretty full life, and to my satisfaction, I'm never satisfied. There's more I want to do, and as a comedian, by far, I'm not satisfied. You know, I it's never. Never said it. I always want to do that joke better. I want to add to that joke to make it even funnier. I want to make people that didn't laugh last time laugh next time and figure out what that is to do that. But as Joel, if he was off the planet tomorrow, Joel Brill had a good life.
All right, nice. All right, last question. Legacy. Who gets remembered? Will the comic's tight five survive time, or will the comedian's cultural point of view be more timeless?
The comedian's cultural point of view will typically do better because if someone looks at the comic and it's tight five, they'll go, "That guy was really funny," And yeah, he did that joke about the toilet, and that was really funny, and that was all they know. The cultural ones, I love the way that guy was talking about a certain group culture or something, but it was more whatever the theme was, whatever the thing that they were talking about, it's just they'll remember that more. He was talking about how the religion does this, or how guys versus women. I mean, that was so spot on. So yeah.
All right. So, Joel, where can everybody find you online?
I'm on Joel Brill on pretty much everything: Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. That's probably it.
All right. Well, Joel, thank you so much for being my guest. And for everyone, please like and subscribe, and we will see you in the next one.
Thanks for having me.
If you're interested in too much information like in the network state or Mantipus the chicken shit, check out this video. Or is it this one right here? Well, either way. Lizard.